So welcome back. In the previous video, you've learned how to sort data. In this video, you're simply going to learn on how to identify duplicate case on SPSS. I said it previously, identify duplicate case is one of the most essential tools on SPSS because when you're working with data, you will certainly encounter some duplicate, most of the time encounter some duplicate case, and you need to know how to respond to such a data or data set. So how do we perform duplicate case? So we are going to work with the same data set we've worked in the previous video. Okay, after you sort your data, I hope everybody has properly sort its data. So after you've sort your data, I will ask you to identify the duplicate case in your data set. So, and you will not have to, I want to hope you will not go and scroll to your data set up and down to identify the duplicate case. It's going to be, it's strenuous for the eye, it's strenuous for the brain, and sometimes it's not even effective. So SPSS actually gives you the tools to do that and to actually identify easily the duplicate case. So first of all, to identify a duplicate case, there's two things you need to know. The first thing is to know what is your primary key. That is, what is the key that defines that this particular case is different from the other case? What is the variable that actually tells you that this particular case is different from this particular case? Because we all agree that some participants or some cases can have the same variable categories. Like for example, 1 and 2, they are Christians. You understand? 1, 4, and 5, they are Christians. So does it mean it is the same? Does it mean it is duplicate case? Not necessarily. No, because the religion here is not the primary key of this data set. When you look it properly, you can easily identify the primary key of this data set is the code. Okay, so each case here is supposed to have a unique code. That's what it means. It's supposed to have a unique code. That is why it's essential most of the time to codify your data set to make sure all your cases in your data set has a particular unique identity. So in this data set here, the identity here is the variable code. So how do we proceed to actually identify duplicate cases? For my eyes, I can already see one because I don't have big data set, but it is not the best way to do. How to do it with SPSS, you simply have to go on the menu bar and you go to data. As I told you, all data managing tool is found on data. So you click on data. So once you've done that, you see here that below, you see the drop down menu that you have it here, identify duplicate case. You click on it. Very important. So they are asking you on which variable do you want to set this particular function. As I told you, we set this function on the primary key, and we've all identified the code as the primary key of this data set. So I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put here, by default, everything here seems to be okay. So we're not going to talk much about this. Simply go and press OK. So once you've done that, you have normally a dialog box that opens in front of you, an output viewer that actually shows you the detail of the task you just did, and then it is telling you that your data set has one duplicate case and actually 100 different records and one duplicate case. So let's go and identify where is the duplicate case. So we can see that by default, SPSS has placed the duplicate case at the top of our data set so that we can actually, we shouldn't scroll down to have it. So we already have it there. It is telling us that the code BB013 is a duplicate case. So now, the second thing, as I told you, there are two things we need to know. Now, the second thing we need to know is determining if that code is a duplicate case. And this is the most difficult aspect of the task because sometimes it's very tricky task. To do that, there are two things now there's one thing you have to know now. You should be able to identify secondary keys. Secondary keys are what? Secondary keys are simply variables that actually helps you actually will help you to differentiate two cases. Most of the time, we use the age and sex. When you manage your data, you use the age and sex as secondary keys. For example, when you have, for example, by mistake, you are having two codes, and now you're having two similar codes or two similar unique identifier, and then you see that the age and sex actually differs. You can easily guess that there are two different keys, and then it's simply a manipulation or typing error at the level of the unique ID code, and then you can correct. So in this particular example, when we look through our data set, we see that the age for BB13, for the first line, the age is 31 years old. For the second case, it is 30 years old. But however, all the other variables are the same. So what do you, if I ask you the question, what for you, is it really a duplicate or is it not a duplicate? So actually here we are in a Carrefour, we have two directions, we have two directions and we have to choose one. So each of the direction we will take now will define the action we are going to do. So I will say in one road is telling us that it is a duplicate, another road is telling us that it's not a duplicate. So I want your answer in the comment. Is it a duplicate or it's not a duplicate? Okay. So however, whatever your answer, I don't have the answer. Most of the time, what you have to do is to go back to the field and try to find out really what is happening, really to identify if really this particular case exists or not. You do what we call a cross check. But however, since you are confronted with this particular situation and it is just for the purpose of example, I will, for me, actually identify it as a duplicate case because you see basically all the variables are the same. Just maybe the age will differ 31 to 30. We can actually guess that it's a typing error that existed here actually. So I will actually guess as a duplicate case, and then the action that will follow for me will be to delete one record. Okay, and here will come the difficulty. How do I actually know that which record to delete or not? I have to go back to the field to delete to identify which one is the false record. However, if I come back and say it is not a duplicate, okay, and then the action that will come behind it will be for me to maintain the two records. And how do I maintain the two records? I will have to give another code to one of these duplicate records. So I will come for me at the second record and I will give him another code that does not belong to any other code here. Okay, so I'm going to give him the 101 record. Since I can't go back to the field, I'm choosing the second option. So I'm going to give the record 101 record. So I save it and then I redo my sorting activity to ensure that my data is actually organized in a proper manner, as you can see. So here is it on how to identify duplicate case. If you have any question on this particular video, don't hesitate to actually put it at the level of the comment section, and I will be there to answer you right away. See you in the next video to talk about how to identify unusual case. See you there.